Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. First off, the important stuff. Thank you to everybody who has made suggestions to me about other beverages. I appreciate it, but I think I'm going to have to start writing more books to be able to afford all of your suggestions. But I'm going to try. For now, I'll start this. Hmm. Ah, good. I said that I was going to stop recommending channels before I get to the main body of this stuff about how everything you know is wrong. Um, Said I was going to stop recommending channels because I thought I'd run out of friends that have great channels that I would refer you to. However, there's another one. He's not a friend. I just recently um, discovered him, and I do want to recommend him. Um, I had seen a couple before, and I had heard um, RWP mention him in a couple of his videos, but I hadn't watched very many. And I watched one the other day. I forget. I think maybe he commented on one of mine, which made me watch his, or some. I don't remember. I don't have a mind that keeps that stuff in there. But the name of the channel is Guns Coast to Coast. This guy is an intelligent guy. He's a thinker, and he put one up today. Called what was it called? I don't know. Go Google or put it up in the search, Guns Coast to Coast, and it'll take you to it. I think something about we have a second chance or something like that. Anyway, I left a comment on there, and he answered with a by saying, yeah, it's almost like there's a plan to keep us uninformed cradle to grave. I think that was, if that's not exact, that was the gist of it. And that made me think of uh, something that I had recently talked to a friend about, and something that I've been meaning to make a video on. And that's how everything that most people know is wrong. So let me add him to the list of those people that I would suggest you watch. And there you go. So I think I've run out of people now. I hardly ever watch. I don't watch that many videos. There are a few that I just really enjoy. People that I know, people that I have liked, and just people that are comfortable to listen to. And so I don't look at others, but those are the ones. Okay. Um, I was recently talking to a friend and about the state of the world, right? And all of those things that I was trying to explain to him some of the conspiracy, right? And he's a conservative person. Um, he doesn't know a lot, to be honest, because he watches sports all the time. And then when he's not watching sports, he watches Fox News, and he thinks that makes him informed. And of course, we all know about that. But I was talking to him about some of the things that were going on, had been going on, and he was just kind of shaking his head like, what? And I said, well, now look at you. I said, now look at why you were in Vietnam. He served in Vietnam. And I said, look at why you were over there in Vietnam. And he says, well, what do you mean? And so I told him about the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And as I was telling him about it, and I'm sure most of you all are familiar with that, as I was telling him about it, his face just started getting, like, what? And I could see that it was, really making him have a mind flip. So I kind of brought it to a conclusion, and I said, we had 50,000 guys and more die. Many more than that screwed up beyond belief for the rest of their life, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever. I'm going to pause this for a minute while the suburban sirens, are they coming closer? We'll see. For all you people out in the country that don't get to hear sirens very often, maybe this will be exciting for you. We don't get them too much around here, but if it gets close, my dog will start howling, and then I'll know to shut off and take a break. Anyway, and I explained to him, that thing was all about money. That was all about money, and it was all over a lie. I said, you look into it. Don't believe me. You look into it. And I took off. Well, I saw him a couple of days later. I said, I asked him, did you look into that? He said, no. He says, I started to, but all the things that happened to me and all the things that I did, I don't think I could bear it if I started believing that it was a lie. And how common is that, right? That's why a lot of people don't get close to the truth. I've been putting things over on Patreon that won't end up here because they deal with things that, shall I say, are more select for the more intelligent people who, first off, have a mind to think. Not that you all on here don't at all, so if you want more, I invite you over there. And it's about parts of our history that most people don't know, but it's important to know because they lead us towards what we're going to be dealing with in the future. Most people, if you've gone through the American education system, especially public schools, unless you had parents who, straightened everything out, well, set a good foundation first and then kept right up and straightened things out as you went along. Most people have squat idea about the truth of our country. They think they know, and that's the danger. It's not knowing that is so much a danger, but thinking that you do know and not knowing something that's wrong, because it leads you down a path that leads to more wrong things, and it makes you feel as if those are acceptable. Okay, so people have pretty much been fed the Cool Whip, that's nice and fluffy and easily to lick off the spoon of the National Education Masters, and it's yummy and it feels good, and everything was always right, and we always did everything for the right reason, and even when things were bad and maybe there was something wrong in our past, well, good things happened to fix those. Well, of course, most of you know that that's a bunch of hooey. The real history of our country has been suppressed to the extent that if 5% of the people know it, I'd be surprised. Let me know if you agree with that or not, but I would be, because I don't meet more than 5% of people, with new meets, as people that I meet, in daily life that I end up talking with about these things. I don't meet more than about 5% who have any inkling of the truth of some of the major parts of our history. They don't have a clue as to the truth of Vietnam. They don't have a clue as to the truth of more recent things. They're shocked when I talk to them about it and start explaining some things, and most of them just don't believe it, or have such a hard time believing it they don't want to talk about it anymore. That's the danger. They don't have a clue as to the truth of World War II, World War I. Hell, half of them couldn't tell you what century they happened in. They just know certain things, certain people bad, certain people good. We're good. We win. So that means that we're always going to be good. We're always going to win. And our government always does what's right. Even though we don't like some of the things that they do, they wouldn't really do anything bad. They don't know the truth of the so-called Civil War. And if you want to know, for you new people, if you want to know why I say that so-called Civil War, I cover some of that and probably be covering a lot more over on Patreon. I cover a lot of it in my books because it's important to understand that. They don't understand the truth of the War of 1812. They don't understand the real truth of the Revolution. But they've been fed this sugar coating that was easy to feed and easy to swallow, and it made everything seem yummy, and then they wouldn't have to worry their poor little heads about anything bad, that might be coming. You all understand what I'm saying in that without an understanding of the truth of the past, we can't have a real understanding of what's going on right now or what the dangers are in the future. Because the surest way to trace the trajectory of an arrow from mid-flight to where it lands is by backtracing it from mid-flight to where it started, right? The past usually draws a straight line towards the future because things aren't that different. The powers that be have found the ways that the public is easily manipulated. They know the ways to make the masses think the way they want the masses to think. There are those few troublesome little, questioners out here among us that throw out the little barbs and try to get other people to take a closer look. But as long as we don't get too troublesome, they don't bother us. And that's the trick. Trying to do just enough to have an impact without, calling in incoming. When I look around at what's going on today, it's not even new. As most of you understand, most of you realize that just perfectly. It's not new. This is the same old stuff. But we have greater problems than we had during those times before. And we have a more ignorant population. We have a lazier population. We have a population now that loves getting paid for not working. I mean, that's been coming for a long time, ever since the mid-1960s, right? When we started paying people not to work. And now that has seeped not just from what you would consider to be the lower economic strata of our society. It's creeped up into the middle and those who consider, many of them, the upper middle stratas. It's become a gravy train that people have no idea where it started, where it's going to stop, what the root causes were, and what the final effects are going to be. And the final effects are going to be disastrous. Things are moving more quickly. Things are moving in a much more complicated manner so that it's difficult for people to keep track. And as a result, they just get worn out. They get upset about this over here, but before they really have a chance to get their teeth into that, there's something else to be upset over there. And now over here, and then over there, and back there, and they're surrounded. They're surrounded by chatter from both sides, or all sides, I should say, because there's many more sides than two. but they're kept standing straight up in ignorance because of the noise that's being directed at them from all directions. It's difficult for any understanding, any real study of the situation to be done in that cacophony. And so, just as the master's plan, the masses retain their ignorance, but maintain their happiness within that ignorance with the bread and circuses that are constantly supplied by one thing or another, whether it's the sports, whether it's the news, whether it's the latest thing that you have to buy, whether it's the latest thing that you have to be afraid of. And people just suck this stuff up, don't they? Now, I know that most of you don't. You're not in the majority. We wonder whether it's possible to win more over, whether it's possible to educate enough so that they'll start understanding the importance of preparing, resisting, standing up, creating alternative plans. To the extent that we can, we should, because the more that we can get on board with that, the more backup we've got, the easier it is. The bigger your team, the better the play. Are we going to be able to do that? Who knows? As times get harder and harder, and they're going to, and they're going to get much more difficult, much quicker, I think, as we come into the fall. It's going to bring a lot of things home to people who right now are sitting on the fence. I had a friend of mine years ago who wrote a column in my martial arts magazine, and it was about groundhogs. And I still remember the cartoon or the illustration. They don't call it cartoons. The illustration that I forget who did it. Somebody did it for his column, and it was a groundhog sitting up on a fence post. And the story was something to the effect that, that's the state of most people. The groundhog is just going to stay up on the fence post looking back and forth, thinking that what's going on doesn't affect him, not realizing that being up there, he's a target for both sides. And the best thing that groundhog can do is get down off of that fence post and hopefully with a little critical thinking and understanding, choose the right side. It's going to be much more interesting as we get into the fall. I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more what the other guys are saying on their channels. I'm looking forward to talking with more people as things continue to degrade and disintegrate, because I think that this is an opportunity to educate a lot of people. It reminds me of what Churchill said during the dark days of Britain. And in one of his radio addresses, he said, and I won't get this exactly right, but he said, these are not terrible times. These are great times. Times of great opportunity. And I think that's what we need to look at this situation as. These are times of opportunity. The worse things get, the more opportunity we have to make our case and help those who may not have been ready to see the truth and see the light when things weren't as bad. And that's, it's an interesting dichotomy in it. Things have to get bad enough for people to wake up and go, hey, what happened? Where did this come from? Somebody's got to do something about that. And then hopefully some of them will realize that they are the somebody. Most of them won't. Most of them will say, well, where's somebody? Where's all these somebodies that need to be fixing my life? those are the weak people that, life used to kind of cull the herd out of those people, and nowadays we have built such a safety net under them and such a cushiness around them that they don't have to protect themselves too bad. And now they're running too much of our world. Anyway, I would suggest that if anything that I said surprised you, and if you go over to Patreon and you see some of the things that we're talking about over there, and I'll tell you, you're going to learn a lot. I love the comments over there. Those people are, not that you all aren't. I've always said that. I think I've got the smartest commenters on YouTube, but the depth of the knowledge and the quality over there on the Patreon channel about these things, it is excellent. And many of the resources that people suggest, excellent. If you really want to learn and be prepared, learn about the past so that it prepares you for the future. Those are the resources. It's, prepare your mind first. Understand the truth. So if you think you're at all a little bit short, if you think that, well, I thought that I understood, I thought I knew everything that there was to know about World War II, for instance, or the Civil War, because I stayed awake most of the time in high school's history class, and maybe even most of the time in college history class. And I've gone along. I've watched the movies and seen the TV shows, and I heard all about who the bad people were and who the good people were. So I know, I'm educated. If that's your level of education, let me respectfully and gently suggest to you that you may not know the whole story, and you may not know, as a result, you may not know the truth. And it's important that you know the truth, because the truth of the past leads to the future. Okay. I was talking too much without a refreshment. And I'm looking forward to trying all those suggestions that you all have sent me. Keep them coming, because I'll keep writing books, and I'll keep being able to afford those, and they all sound great. So I'll leave it there for right now. Remember to check those. I'm going to go through this list again, just in case anybody missed these. There are some channels out there that if you don't watch them, and I know that a lot of our viewers overlap, but not all of them do. So if you don't watch any of these, I suggest that you might want to add it to those that you watch. So it's RWP, Real World Prepper, okay, Zombie Farmer, Corsair Trainers. I know I have a drawl, so if people didn't understand me when I mentioned Steve's name out there, Corsair Trainers. My drawl, I think it makes it sound like Corsair Trainer. And this last one, Guns Coast to Coast. And then I also watched Joe Fox over at Viking Preparedness, because he and I think so much alike. So those are some that if you don't watch any of them, I suggest you give them a try. They're all very different. Well, not very different, but they all are different. We're all different in different ways, and I think if you will enjoy them and get a lot out of them. So I'll leave it there. I'll remind you that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and there is no greater preparation than understanding where problems come from. If you're going to solve a problem, you really need to understand the genesis of the problem, the source of the problem. If you don't understand that, you're really not going to be able to deal with the problem. So think about that, dig into it. Make history your tool, not your blindfold. Okay. So you all have a good night, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.